Okay, guys, this is a video I'm making before I upload it. I just thought I would kind of make this video. Um, so, not quite sure how to start this video. Um, I suppose I had some insights that I thought of, and, really wanted to be honest about something. A lot of people probably wonder, you know, why do I, why do I live with my grandma? Why don't I have an apartment of my own? Why, um, why do I do a lot of the things I do? Let me start off by saying, whenever I was a kid, um, okay, I'll give you an example. I don't know how many people watched Spider-Man when they were a kid, but on Spider-Man, his parents died and his Uncle Ben and his Aunt May took care of him. Well, that's kind of how my grandparents were, except my parents didn't die, they were just abusive. Um, you know, if you ever kind of want to know, I mean, it's better if I just say it. Well, I don't really want to put anyone on the spot, but needless to say, it was a very stressful growing up. And I don't want to get into it because sometimes people like to, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyways, regardless, my my dad left when I was 9. My mom was depressed for a long time. Then she became narcissistic, and then uh, there was a lot of mental abuse after that. Then eventually, I started to live with my grandma. Or I mean, I would go over to my. I'm skipping around different time periods. I'm trying to stay focused on my childhood, and I keep skipping ahead to other later things. So there was a point when my granddad died, and he was like he was kind of like Uncle Ben was to Spider-Man. He was kind of the fulcrum point of his development. Um, a lot of his morals come from his Uncle Ben, and if you remember that scene when his Uncle Ben died, that's kind of what it was like when I lost my granddad. It was like the single most painful point of my life. So I'm sorry. I haven't realized how much I've avoided thinking about that, and how it affects me. But sorry, my eye is focusing this way a little bit because the light is like drawing my eye this way. Maybe if I do something more like that, yeah, it focuses better. And let me see if I can maybe adjust the I don't think I can. It's fine. But sorry about all the filler words. I'm just trying to stay focused. I have a hard time staying focused on emotional, mental content in my head. I'm not good with emotions. Um, whenever, whenever he died, the only person I ever really had left was my grandma because my mom was kind of, well, just another source of mental trauma, whereas my dad was a source of mental and physical trauma, but I'm not going to say a whole lot about him because I have nothing against him anymore. I'm just talking about the facts. And But needless to say, I did learn a lot of useful things from my dad when he wasn't abusive, because he wasn't always abusive. He was he was abused when he was a kid, and he was doing his best. My mom, on the other hand, she had a maladaptive coping strategy for dealing with her disappointments and mistakes in life, I suppose. Whereas me, probably a bit of both strategies, both doing the best I can and having maladaptive strategies. But my grandma's all I've really ever had family-wise that I could rely on, and that's really the reason why I still live with my grandma, because deep down I'm living in the shadow of my future. I am intuitively avoiding the pain of regret of not spending as much time with her as I can. So that's why I come up with excuses to just stick around a little longer, a little longer. Because honestly, I don't want to let go of the only person that that I have. Because in my eyes, that's the only person I can trust. So if you wonder why I put hold on a lot of my more independent things in life, it's because I'm gradually applying those things as I go along, because I'm kind of taking my time, because I don't want to lose any time with the only person that I can trust in my eyes. Because I remember what it was like to lose my granddad, and I know the next time I feel that feeling, everything that my counselors have tried to cure in me for the last maybe 5 years between two counselors, maybe longer between three counselors, um, is all of that, everything they've done, it's going to be times two. It's going to be all that replicated, copied, and pasted on top of what's already there. That's what's going to happen. And since I know what's coming at one point or another, I'm doing everything I can to minimize how much regret follows that pain when it does happen, while simultaneously taking ease with making preparations so it doesn't become at a critical time. Meaning, I'm getting my license, I got my license, I'm making, it might not seem like I'm paying any bills because, you know, the obvious reasons, but I, I pay car insurance every month. I don't make a lot, but, it's because, I I'm just focused on the necessities, I suppose. Now that I'm kind of thinking more about planning ahead, I'm thinking about getting a similar job to what my dad had, because it worked well for him. And on a more humble level, it kind of satisfies a lot of the things I'm good at, and, I'm good at a lot of more, I'm good at problem solving. I'm good at being, very hyper focused on a specific task in relation to the bigger picture, which is kind of how building things works. Um, you have a specific outcome in mind, the project, and you're focusing on a specific component of that that requires attention, which I'm pretty good at, and you kind of have a somewhat of a deadline. I'm pretty decent at keeping that in mind. And then at the end of the day, when you go home, you can't keep track of everything that you did because you did so much. Makes you feel a lot better than thinking back and thinking, oh, well, I didn't get much of anything done. You know, when you look back and all the work you did was just standing around doing this and that, kind of disappointing. But if you're constantly running around doing different things and you can't remember one moment where you weren't doing something critical, it really makes you put a lot of value on what you did with your time, and it makes you happier. And realistically speaking, with current economy, I think I could get by on about 2 to 3 thousand a month, you know, to start. Work my way up to maybe double that, and I think I'd probably be happy with that. And judging by how long that would take, I think I'd be okay. So I kind of think I already have my roadmap ahead of me. I'm focusing on, as much as I tend not to focus on the journey, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. You know, I would rather, I'd rather be happier about my time spent in retrospect when something bad happens rather than, have a bunch of regrets. So, I suppose what I'm doing is I'm thinking ahead like I always do. If I know a storm is coming, I'm going to spend every moment making building up my shelter. That's what I'm going to do. But imagine that a mental storm is coming, and I'm trying to make sure that I minimize every possible regret up until that point. Because a lot of people that think ahead like me tend to look ahead and they have a lot of regrets because they overlook things, and I'm trying desperately not to do that. And yes, it's stressful living with family members, as it is with anyone, but I kind of overlook that in favor of, well, at least I'm spending the most time I can with a person that I don't want to lose. So, if anyone ever wonders why I live the way I live, um, well, I'm avoiding pain and I'm just trying to minimize mistakes right now before I, eventually kind of have to readjust again. And yeah, I suppose I'm kind of depressed here and there because I'm living in a time that hasn't happened yet, and people probably think, oh, well, oh, it's not that bad, you know. Well, no, not now. But when something bad happens, it's going to be really bad for me specifically because I I have trust issues with people, but when I get attached to a family member that I trust, when you lose them, it's like you lose everything all at once. When you're sort of attached to different family members and you lose one that you're sort of attached to, I've had that happen. I've lost relatives that I wasn't real attached to, and I'll be honest with you, I was kind of disturbed by the lack of feeling that I had in that event compared to like someone who's more attached to them and has a history with them. So when I sum it up, it's like the more attached you are to someone, the more important they are to you, and the worse it hurts when they go. Now, I only knew my granddad for a little while when I was younger, but the amount of pain that it caused me when he died in the short amount of time that I knew him made me realize we don't live in a world of solid, factually calculable emotion. We live in a world of emotion that is more like the the photons that flow through matter, unpredictable, completely based on very high quality science that still has a hard time explaining it. It's a bit like that. How a black hole only the size of maybe a universe can be so powerful that it affects the entire, or not just a galaxy, but like the entire universe. That's kind of how I think about it. Or like how a bacterium or organism that is so small you can't see it unless you have a high-powered microscope can kill millions or thousands or hundreds of thousands. Or how a big ball of fire falling in continuously in a void along with us, and the perspective of falling just is non-existent because everything's falling at the same time and orbiting one another. It makes you think we're alive because of a ball of fire in a void. Maybe I'm alive because of all the pain I've felt and what that's taught me to appreciate. And maybe I'm kind of distraught because I realize there's a lot of other things that I'm trying to do all at the same time. I suppose I live my life in preparation for whatever the next event is, because I know that I normally have to work ahead of myself to get the things I need, the results that are best for me. So, just like I'm making this video before I ever post it, I suppose the main thing is I love my grandma. I'm very slowly working on, you know, how to, progress through life more. But honestly, even though my independence overall is the most important thing in my life, the most important thing in this segment of my life is probably spending time with my grandma, so when something bad happens, I don't have to hate myself and regret not doing that. So I suppose I'm using some age-old wisdom that a lot of older people would probably tell you is, um, don't live life with a lot of regrets because you'll never be able to take it back. So do I suppose, your due diligence to avoid that, and that's exactly what I'm doing. But I'm not neglecting my future either. You know, I'm planning on getting into a growth-focused career. I'm planning on doing something that is satisfactory and realistic. Although right now it's kind of fuzzy. I'm not entirely sure, which company or which specific trade to start with. All I know is it's not what I'm currently doing, and what I'm currently doing is fading as my idea of getting the next a little bit better type of is kind of fading in, so I'm being cautious about it. Um, but this is kind of why I'm doing videos again, because I have more time between things. So I think I really just wanted to make a video because I think maybe someone like me is probably thinking, we're wondering why they're still kind of in this box they've put themselves in. Well, I'll put it this way. Even if you don't consciously realize why you're doing something, you might actually have a really good psychological reason for doing it. Kind of like why I avoid emotional pain to an excessive extent, because my tolerance for emotional pain is so low that it can only be the result of past trauma. So, if you want to know why, if you want to know why I don't, why I, why I do the things I do it because I'm avoiding regrets and pain that I don't want to have to add and stack onto things to deal with later. And on top of that, not everything's about trauma. Some things are about things I've learned from the trauma. Not necessarily the pain specifically, but things I've learned to appreciate that normally people overlook. You know, people like to say, oh, trauma just teaches you to hide and teaches you maladaptive things that aren't good for you or unhealthy. Well, the thing is, healthy in a lot of terms that they use is sort of relative, I think. Yeah, it might not be best for most people to isolate, but for other people who are maybe more introverted, more aware of what they could lose, more cautious about the way they go about things, to those people, that might be just the perfect thing for them to do is isolate. At least until they know what else to do. It's kind of like, imagine being a turtle and you're walking really slow and you're very steady. It's kind of like, imagine the what's that story everyone was told as a kid, or most people were, or at least I was. The rabbit and the turtle, tortoise and the hare, or whatever it's called. I live my life like the turtle. I walk slow. I stare down my goal, but I appreciate the light breeze while I walk through. And when something tries to attack me, I go inside my shell and I don't come out till it's gone. And then I start walking again. And usually, anywhere I go, there's grass right there to eat. So I don't have to worry about that. That's not really one of my concerns. Simple things like that. But maybe sometimes it should be. Sometimes I don't eat enough grass. And sometimes I walk too much. Sometimes I should maybe sleep more. And sometimes I sleep too much. Some inconsistency there, but I suppose it balances out. But the point is, when I get to the finish line, that damn rabbit's still going to be hopping around talking to everyone else while I got to the finish line. I got what I wanted. And I'm going to keep walking because now I see a tree in the corner and I want some shade. Suppose a rabbit will hop all the way to the water source and then hop back to the water source. There's a water source dripping right below the tree. I have everything I need. I don't care about all that. The rabbit can hop around, and greet everyone, and get to know everyone okay. But all the little squirrels right under this tree, I know them so well. I don't have to go anywhere or worry about anything. The acorns just fall on my head, and the apples fall on my head. I can just sit here and eat apples and acorns and snack on the little grasshoppers as a turtle in this metaphor. And everything's kind of right there. So I'm going to kind of stick around the tree because this tree is going to be here for a long time. And I'm not so worried about what's out there. I'm worried about what's in here. Because what's in here determines what's going to be out there. It's kind of a concept that I learned recently, and I've realized I actually do use this concept. I just maybe not in the way that I idealize. Um, because I have big ideas, but I don't really indulge in my big ideas. Um, it's kind of like I'm very cautious about my ideas and how I implement them. So I suppose the moral of the story is individualism, caution, avoid regret, avoid pain, because those things have a lot more harm on the most fundamental part of you that you maybe overlook. Because if your mind isn't right, your life won't be right. So the best way to fix your life is to fix your mind. Right now, I'm optimized for avoiding regret and being cautious. Some people might have an aggressive response to that. Oh, you're playing it safe. That's all you're doing. You're afraid of everything. And honestly, I'm really not. I just prefer to be cautious because when I live life fast, it's like drinking like 3 rock stars and then trying to do a marathon with no preparation. Yeah, you're going to win for the first half a mile, but after that, you're going to be so tired that you don't even remember where you are, and you're just going to sit down for a bottle of water and you're going to fall asleep on the bench and you're going to lose. Um, and the funny thing is, I'm actually extremely ambitious, but my mind runs a lot of scenarios in my head that kind of deflates that ambition to a more realistic kind of. It's all, I guess you could say that I kind of get a lot of things done in large bursts of energy, and then I spend a long time like a turtle just in my shell. I walk as much as I can till I can't walk anymore, and then I sleep in my shell all day, the next day, maybe the day after. And then I start walking as fast as I can, like little turtles walk when they see a tomato. Just go right at it, sturdy. And then they stop and they sleep again. That's kind of how I live. I'm cautious. I focus on what's important to me, I guess. Kitty. Where's your tail wet? Oh, I think my cat is. Oh, okay. So to sum it up, I think ahead at how my actions affect the one thing that I have to live with forever is my mind. So, some could call me lazy, but there's a certain genius to taking it easy in life. It helps you sleep better at night. Anyways, guys, um, have a nice day, and I'll probably do a stream later on. Probably not long after I do this video. And Gray is very interested in this screen. Okay, see you. Gothic Central out.